laps. And Norris going over. So the queue reforms. They're checking Norris's front wing. Intense work going on there. Oscar Piastri, the home favourite, cheered every single time he goes past the grandstands. On the main straight, there is the Oscar Piastri grandstand that is absolutely every seat sold and full, and they're all wearing yellow and green Oscar Piastri caps, not far away from our commentary box. Liam Lawson trying to out-qualify Arvid Lindblad, and Arvid Lindblad trying to do what is so difficult for a rookie driver here. Keep that momentum going all the way through the session. Not just perform in Q1 and Q2, but when it really counts, can you find a great lap? It would cap a superb debut qualifying hour if he was able to do so. Fourth youngest driver in the history of the Formula One World Championship at just 18 years of age. The stewards will, as DC's told you, investigate after the session. That's a standard rulebook procedure. And he is first in the queue. You're looking at the car of Liam Lawson, the New Zealander, about to qualify for his 36th Grand Prix in Formula One.
Well, one thing, when they go up to the stewards, one thing I love about Formula One, and I'm sure this is the same throughout sport, we don't have a blame culture, we have a responsibility culture. So there'll be no one singing Shaggy's song, it wasn't me.
It's a poor time to take a sip of my drink, that, DC.
Apologies.
It's a poor time. 90 seconds to go, as you can have a look into the grandstand there. There you can see so many Oscar Piastri fans, and they are ready for the next 90 seconds to elapse and then see the fastest laps of the weekend. Jolyon Palmer has made his way to Parc Ferme. He's going to be talking to the top three in the first qualifying session of the year. DC is a two-time winner around this circuit, 13 times. He was on the top step in Formula One. Still, the effort goes on, and it is intense effort down at McLaren.
Yeah, you see trusty old gaffer tape coming out there to help seal the damage that's been done to the inside of that end plate. Interesting that they're choosing to try and do a quick patch. Thankfully, that outer edge of the end plate, fairly standard in its shape across all of the iterations of Grand Prix cars, is limited in its overall efficiency. So it's not like if you damage an actual main plane or element of the front wing. So if you're going to hit anything, that was definitely the way to do it.
And he's within the steward's discretion to give Antonelli a grid drop if they thought it was a serious error. So, for example, if it does prevent Lando Norris setting a lap time here, Antonelli could be in for a grid drop as per the rules. It's entirely within the steward's discretion whether that happens. You're looking at Pete Bonington. He's won so many races with Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. He's hoping to win his first sooner rather than later with Kimi Antonelli, who was rushed through. Didn't even do Formula 3, which is so unusual for a driver to just be elevated to Formula 2. Even Max Verstappen, who has all the accolades for being the youngest point scorer in Formula 1 and caused such waves, rewrote the super license system because he got promoted so soon in Formula 1. Even he did Formula 3, so it's so unusual for Antonelli to have been rushed through in the way that he did, but he is hoping to emulate Verstappen and be a young winner in Formula 1. He's got that opportunity at 19 years of age. Those who line the circuit have been brilliantly respectful and supportive of all the drivers. It's a great crowd here, it's a knowledgeable crowd, but man, do they want to see Oscar Piastri at the front.
Yeah, look, that would be Hollywood off the back of Formula One's success at the box office with that very movie. The F1 movie with Brad Pitt, it would just be, and it feels that if any audience deserves a home winner, the Australian audience does. I know there's an international audience that have travelled here, but this is, they certainly sweat this asset. There's track action on a Thursday, right through to Sunday. And he is a popular local boy. I don't think anyone would begrudge him that, but right now it looks very much like Mercedes certainly have the quickest qualifying car. The race will be another story, of course. We won't know until we see the checker flag just how people manage this new brave world of 50-50 hybrid power.
Yeah, very unusual change to change the chassis and the power unit at the same time. Very rare in Formula One. So many changes, drivers getting used to it. This bit doesn't change though. The end of Q3, setting the top 10 positions in the grid for the first Grand Prix of the year. That is always epic, and we're going to go through the build laps, we're going to go through the push laps, and eventually, let's be straight with you here, see if anyone can knock George Russell. The world champions next up, Lando Norris to the front row. He pips Isaac Hadjar by 0.02 of a second, and it's still George Russell P1, but he's been joined by the world champion on the front row.
Yeah, that was impressive lap from Russell again. So we all eyes now on what Antonelli can do. We've got to imagine that half a second gap he can comfortably slot in to make it a Mercedes all front row. Everyone will get another run, another crack at it, but that is disappointing first attempt for the two Ferraris.
All the evidence that we've seen earlier this weekend, that is nowhere near where we expected them to be. This has affected the front row lineup though. Kimi Antonelli heading to turn 3, heading wide.
Yeah, you can see just carried way too much speed through the apex. That under rotation is a telltale sign. Tried to roll with it, but as an old school racetrack, it was the oscillations on the bumps there in the braking zone that took him wide, and then that gravel, unforgiving. It's got consequence.
Yeah, that won't be a perfect state, the underside of the car. Antonelli driving something that would not be in the sweet spot. Remember, Ollie Behrman last year had the crash and then went off in a later practice session chasing the time that was lost. Lando Norris saving his best for Q3 by some way. He was the driver on pole here a year ago. He won the Grand Prix by less than a second. Chased all the way home by Max Verstappen to this very straight at the end of a thoroughly entertaining season opener. But for Red Bull Powertrains and Ford, this is pretty special because it's, as we have seen elsewhere in the pit lane, it's very, very easy to get it wrong, building your own power unit. Ford are back in Formula One. They're with Red Bull, and they're currently P3 for Isaac Hadjar, promoted to the main team. And Isaac Hadjar will be hoping that this is a breakthrough day for him. He's already stood on the podium in Formula One. He's looking at P3 in Formula One qualifying as it stands.
Yeah, that would be very satisfying, no question about it. Just looking at how they build that lap, the first sector, as you see a
Antonelli currently in 7th position because his first effort got ruined. The Racing Bulls just decided to wait it out, and Bortoletto did not take part in this session, having not made it back under his own power to the pit lane. Isaac Hadjar's best in Formula One qualifying P4, which was impressive at Zandvoort. When Lando Norris broke down, that became the podium for the driver originally from Paris. So the boy from Bologna, Kimi Antonelli. He's made it through the corner where he had a crash earlier on in the weekend. Now to the corner that caught him out. Can he find a clean lap to use the power of the W17? That has been a rocket ship in the hands of his teammate.
Yeah, a lot cleaner there. He would have been a bit more cautious in the braking down into 3, but the benefit is it's given him a reasonable opening sector right there with Russell, who we know will get a second run at it, but that is definitely putting him on target to get that front row.
Use all the battery, and then you see he's got to recharge it, otherwise you'll run out by the end. Recharging into the 9 and 10 fast chicane. It is a rapid middle sector for Kimi Antonelli, who's able to pip his teammate here, and they are driving on the limit. Remember, they won't have been driving on the limit during testing or practice. This is where you have to show your instinct, your mettle, and your best when it counts. Russell improving behind. Can Antonelli ask the question, though, of his teammate? Can he ask him the question to perform through all 14 corners of the Albert Park circuit? That slipstream won't hurt. Kimi Antonelli is provisionally on pole position. Over to you, George Russell.
Yeah, and George is answering. He's answering by going quicker in both the first and second sector. Can he keep it clean towards the end of the lap? He's got Lindblad ahead of him in 13, who will get out of the way as he's getting ready to launch his own lap. Will that give him a little slipstream as well?
Over to George Russell, who has looked superlative around this racetrack all day long. Is it provisional pole? It is. All Mercedes front row. Russell ahead of Antonelli as Piastri tries to spoil the Mercedes party, leaning all over the curb at turn 11, trying to wrestle it away. Hadjar going again, Charles Leclerc going again, but DC, does anyone have an answer to the Mercedes pace?
No, Piastri's slightly slower in the middle sector. Let's see if he's aced the final.
The crowd roaring him across the line up to P3. His teammate in 4th, Hadjar P5 right now. What about the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc? He goes into 3rd position to demote the home favourite, but he's 8/10 of a second away from the pole position time. Hadjar's been in the top 4 before. Can it be top 3? Hadjar does get there. He's best ever in Formula 1 qualifying for the moment. Just a couple of world champions trying to respond. Lando Norris will not get rid of Hadjar at the last. How about a 7-time world champion? This is Hadjar's hero, trying to knock him out of the top 3, and Lewis Hamilton can't do it. Arvid Lindblad, currently in P8, does not have a competitive time on the board. He's got the soft tyres, and here comes the only rookie in the field. He's been driving the wheels off it around Albert Park, and he comes across the line and stays in P8, but that will do, and it's George Russell who finds himself with the first pole position of the year. What a journey it was for Mercedes to get a 1-2. Antonelli in the barriers, through the gravel, but eventually to the front row. Lawson pipped his teammate Arvid Lindblad, but no one had an answer to George Russell, who takes the first pole of the year.
As they say around here, that was a fair dinkum lap, pole position.
Great job. Well done, team. Well done again. Kimmy's car back out as well. Awesome. Awesome effort.
George, pole position. Well done. So controlled. Well done.
Merci. Thank you.
You know what's great in the voice there? 1, he's not surprised. 2, he's not overexcited by it. This is the mark in the sand. He knows he's got to capitalise in this car right now at the beginning of the season, and it's a long way to go. But we've been saying, could this be the car that takes him to his first World Championship?
Well, he's never had a chance to fight, let alone compete all the way to the end. But Russell acknowledges the crowd, and expectation was high. Expectation has been delivered upon. George Russell will lead the line the first race of the 2026 Formula One season, as he will be joined in the top three, not by a Ferrari, not by a McLaren, but by a Red Bull. Isaac Hadjar with his best ever Formula One performance. It's Russ. Advantage, you have to make it pay, because we know how good Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari are in the development race. Personal best in Formula One qualifying for Isaac Hadjar. Red Bull driver finds himself with a personal best in Formula One qualifying. It will only be his 24th start. Contrast that to what we saw last year. Jolyon Palmer's wandered from the commentary box to Parc Fermé, and he's speaking to the Pulse.
We knew there was a lot of potential in the car, but until you get to this first Saturday of the season, you never know. But it really came alive.
Very different driving style, it looks like.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to drive. It's not easy, I think, for some of the fans to understand. However, I'm excited for the race tomorrow, and I think it can bring some quite exciting racing, and you know, also for you guys in the crowd, there's always amazing every time we come to Melbourne, so thank you so much for all of that support for all of us, and hopefully we can deliver a good race.
All right, hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to you on that. But Kimmy, what a day for you as well. There's only one place to start. The start of that session, I mean, that must have been pretty sweaty.
Yeah, it's been a very, very stressful day. Unfortunately, in FP3, I went into the wall, but the guys, the mechanics today were the heroes, to put the car back on track. And, we couldn't even set up the car. We just went out and, just managed to put on the front row. So really happy with that.
I have to say, that last lap from you was pretty incredible as well, because you had the lockup, you had no time on the board in Q3, and suddenly you went to provisional pole. So how do you manage to do that with the day that you've had so far?
Yeah, it was not easy. I had to dig deep, but need to have a clean weekend next time, because definitely compromise a little bit qualifying, but we have a race tomorrow to look ahead, and a good result is possible.
Yeah, well done, Kimmy. Amazing result
Thank
for you
you
today in the end. Isaac Hadjar, top 3 for your first qualifying with Red Bull. What a cheer, what a feeling. How was that for you?
Thank you very much to all the fans cheering. It was very smooth qualifying. You know, the run-up to qualifying the whole weekend was a bit difficult. You know, we are not really in a position to fight for top 3. I felt like the Ferrari, the McLaren were a bit clear of myself, but we kind of built up to it the whole qualifying session, and that was a very good last lap.
Very tight margins between you and those behind, but you're on the 3rd spot behind these 2 Mercedes. Can you do anything about them? Can you maybe get them at the race start? What does it look like tomorrow?
The only thing I can do is take a better start, but then it's going to be just too fast at the moment, so I want to keep my position. A 2nd podium could be cool.
All right, well done today, Isaac. Good luck for tomorrow. All right then, George, let's talk about tomorrow. Pole position, but a whole new set of circumstances with these cars in race trim. We saw the starts in testing look difficult. How are you feeling for those?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the simple things that were in the past, like race starts, pit stops, are a hell of a lot more challenging with these new cars. So I said it to the team in the garage at the beginning of Q3, you know, let's just have a clean session because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Obviously, we'll try and work hard tonight, and but obviously, really great day. We're together, we're in the best place possible.
Indeed. Well done. Well done, all 3. Looking forward to the race tomorrow.
My thanks to Jolyon Palmer, speaking to the top 3, which includes Isaac Hadjar for the first time at the end of a Grand Prix qualifying session. George Russell executing on the task and scoring his 8th career pole position. His teammate having a day of it, but thanking the mechanics who, it's not an easy thing to do, to be flown to the other side of the world. Remember, because there's some of the late arrivals, that there was no curfew earlier in the week, so it's been a rampant week for so many down in the pit garages. Then that extra test, and 2.5 hours they completely repaired that car. Good enough to get an 83rd front row lockout in Formula 1 for the Mercedes team. And Scotty James presenting the pole position trophy. And the snowboarder saying well done. And Russell will hope that's the first of many in 2026. He's been playing down expectations all the way through, but that line to all of us, to the media, it's not going to work anymore. Mercedes have mastered these regulations at this type of power-hungry circuit. Could be different when it comes to the hard stops that we've seen, slightly slower corners, different variation of track. Albert Park is a bit of an outlier, but the Mercedes have mastered it. George Russell will have his teammate alongside, 8 meters further back. And Antonelli and Russell in close proximity. That could well be the story of the opening rounds of the 2026 Formula 1 World Championship. Well, the crowd have seen an eventful session. You would have got very, very long odds on Max Verstappen spinning out in the first part of qualifying. But it's George Russell who takes the opening pole of the year. Kimi 1 qualifying in 2026. George Russell looked the driver to beat at the end of practice. He carried it all the way through, and he starts with the advantage. We said it, we'll say it again. He's the man to beat in Formula One. Bye.